Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, February 9th, 2017. I'm Keith Tebow. Hopefully you're all dealing with our latest snow event, and we'll have some more snow information and parking ban information coming up in just a moment. Also, we'll have details on the South Coast Regional Commonwealth Conversations session held this week by some area state senators. And we'll also have the results of a lawsuit the Correa administration recently settled. But let's bring in Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Fall River Herald News. Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How are you doing?
Good. We're all dealing with the snow, but let's not talk about the bad things. Let's talk about the good things. New England Patriots, of course, winning their 5th Super Bowl championship this past weekend. And, you know, it's become sort of a habit here in New England winning these championships. We shouldn't take it for granted. But what were some of the things that the paper was focusing on in terms of covering the latest championship here in New England?
Sure. You know, we've kind of been covering the Super Bowl in some way or another since the day of the game on Sunday. You know, we were fortunate enough to sit in with at one of the overflow homeless shelters for the start of the game. You know, as they held a party for sort of a potluck party for some of the homeless in the city that were looking to come in and enjoy themselves for one night at least. And then, you know, we've been checking in with the stores that have been selling gear. Mm-hmm. We talked to some local tattoo artists in the last couple of days. Interestingly, they are expecting people as they sort of come off the high. You might think people would make this an impulse decision, but they say it's actually just the opposite. Really? People will sort of carefully craft out what they want and start popping up in the tattoo shops in the next couple of weeks, either to add to existing tattoos or get a whole new one. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch in the next couple of days, is whose friends and family show up with Pat the Patriot on their body somewhere. Right.
I know when you brought up the tattoos, the first thought I had was because of the great success by the Patriots, someone may have had, you know, Super Bowl was 36, I believe, was their first championship, and they're adding to it every subsequent championship going forward. So because of the success, you know, you need all that real estate if you want to continue to add to something like that. So that's great. It's a great moment again for our region. It always builds the spirit of the people in a region when their local teams have championships, be on any level. I remember growing up in the 80s, we had championship years from Durfee High School basketball being very successful in this region for many years, and it does lead to people smiling as they began their work week this week. So that's always a good thing. So let's moving on. We want to talk a little bit now about a story that we just teased opening up the program. The city finalizing a settlement with the Teamsters Union over the sanitation workers. You may remember that back in the summer when Mayor Correa privatized the city's trash service, that the mayor used as the reason for that move that the city had reached an impasse with contract negotiations with the sanitation workers. While the union disagreed, filed grievances with the Department of Labor Relations, and this week the mayor announced that a settlement was reached and a new contract was reached with the Teamsters. I had an opportunity yesterday to speak with Mayor Correa on this issue.
This was really important. You know, that was it was an agreement that was through our contract negotiations. So in our contract negotiations, we settled for $245,000. We additionally also moved forward with this entire project. There's no more. They can't come back to sue the city of Fall River. We got a 0022 contract, which is great, in line with the other contracts, and also starts to end the trash debate that's been a problem for Fall River for at least 3 years now. So I'm really happy that we were able to do that. A lot of people are talking about this costing the city $7 million or millions of dollars. That's obviously not the case. It costs $245,000. And that money is not going to come from general fund money. It's not going to come from free cash. It's going to come from the old enterprise account for sanitation.
The important thing the mayor mentioned, the 022, that means it's a 3-year contract. And in the first year, the employees will receive a 0% wage increase, and they'll receive 2% increases for the next 2 years. Is the mayor right, Will, that this, for now, puts to the end the talk of at least city employees and the trash situation?
Yeah, this certainly puts an end to any question of the the negotiation arbitration aspect of this between the Teamsters Union and the city. This, puts an end to that aspect of it. Certainly, there's still the future of how successful privatization will be, the future of the pay-as-you-throw program, and those types of things. But in terms of personnel and how it's related to trash pickup in the city, I think this finally puts that issue to rest.
You mentioned a good point about the privatization. It's been about 6 months now. I believe it was right after when the fiscal year started in July that the city privatized its trash. What are you hearing about whether residents have been satisfied with their trash pickup or not?
Well, it's certainly been pretty quiet to this point. I think this might be one of those cases where no news is good news.
Right.
You're not hearing a lot of complaints about a lack of trash pickup. There still seems to be issues on the pay-as-you-throw end. I think there's questions about bag availability and that kind of thing. Those kinds of things tend to get lumped all together into the one overarching theme of trash. But at least on the pickup end, things seem to be doing all right. But the pay-as-you-throw is still something to keep an eye on going forward.
All right, no doubt. All right, let's move forward. Even though we have snow on the ground, and right now we may not be seeing much of our sidewalks, the city has been moving ahead with its plan to improve some of the sidewalk conditions throughout the city. And the Herald News had a story this week about the community, as well as we did on FRCMedia News, about the community block grant money, some $300,000 set aside for sidewalk repairs. But it looks like right now, Will, that the city may not be able to do all the sidewalks they intended because early bids coming up showing that the cost to do all the sidewalks in the plan are actually higher than that $300,000 figure.
Yeah, certainly the bids to complete all of the projects came in at $410,000. Like you mentioned, that's a bit higher than the $300,000 that they had budgeted for this. So they're kind of going back, taking a look at all of the list of approximately 175 areas that had been identified as needing sidewalk repairs, seeing if they can trim back some of those and get it down to that $300,000 number, and at least make progress on those. So there is some more work to be done. We'll see what that revised list may look like in the coming weeks.
And I'm sure we'll hear a lot more as we get closer to warmer weather and this money is being spent. The good thing is, though, is last year the city, through the Community Block Grant Award, had only $116,000 or so of money dedicated to sidewalk repair. So this is well over twice that amount. So soon we'll be seeing some needed sidewalk repairs across the city of Fall River. All right, Will, what's happening at the paper over the next few days?
Yeah, this weekend we'll continuing with our ongoing series looking at the homeless situation in Fall River. A couple of stories based on kind of looking at what makes up who is homeless in Fall River, as well as a story on how the police department handles homeless situations when they're called to address those concerns. So I'm continuing forward with that series as well as we will be in the coming weeks as well.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. We'll talk again next week.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Medical Assistant. Primacare, located at 277 Pleasant Street, is looking for a full-time certified medical assistant responsible for escorting patients to exam rooms, interviewing patients, measuring vital signs including weight, blood pressure, pulse, temperature, and document all information in medical records. Job number 847-4300. Restaurant Cook Assistant. Boston Market, located at 30 12th Street, is seeking a full-time restaurant cook assistant responsible for making sure gourmet entrees and desserts are available at all times for the customers. Job number 847-8253. Registrar Enrollment Services. Bristol Community College Fall River campus, located on Ellsbury Street, is seeking a full-time registrar for enrollment services, responsible for certifying all student academic records, managing the course schedule, course registration, and enhance the student information system. Job number 8482518. D'Angelo's Sandwich Shops, located at 1040 North Main Street in Fall River, is looking to fulfill the following positions. Delivery driver, job number 8484381. Restaurant assistant manager, job number 8484435. Restaurant team member, job number 8484376. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCMediaNews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. As we deal with the latest bout of snow this winter, Fall River's Director of Community Maintenance, John Perry, reminds us about the rules associated with the city's snow removal parking ban.
Just do the best you can to adhere to the parking ban. Check the website. There's a lot of useful information as far as times that the parking ban will go in, times that we break it down. That's where you'll find out first. Do your best to adhere to it. We understand that situations come up where, circumstances don't allow you to get out right away and move your car. But the first chance you get, try to move it over and give us that space and time to get the streets cleaned. Just let us get out there and do our thing because we're trying to make it safe for everybody.
In addition, Perry tells FRC Media News that during snowstorms, his crews make a priority that the main streets are cleared for emergency vehicles.
Once we know that we have a good handle on those and those are clean and people can get from point A to point B using those main thoroughfares, then we start to work into the inner neighborhoods. Again, trying to stay within the snow budget. You can't have a truck for every street. I wish I could put a plow truck on every single street, but a small fact not many people know, there are about 780 streets in the city, and there's 270 to 280 miles of roadway. It's a lot to get to. So if we could put a truck on every street, we would. Unfortunately, we can't. So we try to branch out into those smaller neighborhoods after we make sure that the mains and the hills, which are the main thoroughfares, and obviously the hills are a safety concern. We have a unique layout here in the city where I would be willing to bet we have more hills than any community surrounding us. That's a definite challenge, one we're ready for, but that would be the way we go about it.
8 state senators made a stop at Bristol Community College this week as part of their Commonwealth Conversations program. FRC Media News spoke with Massachusetts Senate President Stanley Rosenberg, who explains the purpose of these visits.
So the whole point behind the Commonwealth Conversations is to bring Beacon Hill to the people, giving them a chance to express to us as members of the Senate the most serious issues of concern to them, their hopes, their aspirations. And we ask every senator to attend at least 3, 2 outside of their own region, so that they can see and hear perspectives from all across the Commonwealth. And it's amazing how many times we hear things that are very similar, one area to the other, but there's always a little twist that's a little different. And members of the Senate have very serious responsibility here because in addition to being elected and representing our own constituents, every member of the Senate either chairs a committee or is a member of leadership, which means they also have to have a statewide perspective. They can't just look at problems and issues from their district's point of view. They have to look at it from a statewide point of view as well. So it really helps us understand the whole state.
Mayor Correa attended the event this week. He said he wants the Senate to understand Fall River is an economic driver for Massachusetts.
So when they're talking about legislative pieces such as Route 79 North, South Coast Rail, those are things that are not just good for Fall River, but they're good for the South Coast and they're good for the state of Massachusetts. Our proximity to Rhode Island is something else that I think they need to know about. They need to know where Fall River is because even though they're from Massachusetts, a senator from Western Mass or north of Boston or Boston may not know exactly where Fall River fits in to the regional map. So we're so close to Rhode Island, we're so close to Logan Airport, we're so close to the Cape, so close to Newport. That's an asset to the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I think that's really important.
This week's event was hosted by Senator Michael Rodrigues. He says many of the issues brought out during this series 2 years ago are still of concern today.
We heard a lot about income inequality. We heard a lot about the cost of higher education and mounting student debt. We heard a lot about the opioid epidemic. And last week in Metro Boston, we heard a lot about climate change and global warming and the need to continue our focus on cleaner renewable energy. We still heard some about income inequality. We still heard some about mounting student debt and the cost of higher education. So some things change, some things don't change. But I think the big theme was climate change. It was really on the mind of the people from that testified and presented in Metro Boston. And I think now people are realizing it is true, and we see it.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Hi, welcome to Forever Paws. I'd like you to meet Panther today. She's been here for over 6 months. She's between 2 and 3 years old. She was an owner surrender through animal control. And basically, she came in acting like a panther, but she is just all play and happiness to go. She loves to entertain herself. She gets along with the cats. She actually is our dog tester, so she does well with dogs.
So this is Tyson. Despite his size, he is a really gentle giant. He's only 3 years old. He's a pit bull mix. As you can see, he enjoys his treats. Enjoys all kinds of toys too. He's actually good with kids, good with cats, good with other dogs. He's just all around a good dog. A lot of people are intimidated by his size, but nothing could be farther from the truth. He's really great. And you can see he's smelling around. We just had kitties in here. He's following his nose. And he's been here for a little while now. Some people have shown some interest in him, but they keep falling through, which is really too bad because he's a really great dog. So if you want to come down and meet him, you can come down to Forever Paws Animal Shelter. We're at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Still no word about when and if Fall River will have access to commuter rail service via the Middleborough route. But Mass DOT project manager Jean Fox says her goal is to continue to move forward as fast as possible to help the transportation needs for southeastern Massachusetts.
We're analyzing this interim limited service option. So it takes the Southern Triangle, which we always had. That's Cutley Junction down to Fall River, New Bedford. That southern piece of rail we've owned since 2010. MassDOT owns it. It takes that piece, but instead of going straight up to Stoughton at that point, because we don't have design advance there, we're going to bang a right on the Middleborough Secondary, which currently carries freight, 7.5 miles of track. And then we're going to link in to the Middleborough-Lakeville line. And we're promoting a one-seat ride, albeit a longer ride, because it's diesel service, not electric as proposed for Stoughton. But it will connect the cities to Boston on the Middleborough-Lakeville line. That's what we've been told to look at, and that's what we're analyzing. And so I don't have hard data on that yet. It's still, certainly for the Middleborough secondary piece, conceptual. We've advanced design for the Southern Triangle to 30%, and we hope to be able to get moving on some of this sooner rather than later. I'm grateful for the support of the local delegation.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. and online 24/7 at our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.